There is a truth that slithers in silence beneath the polished marble of every palace. A truth so brutal it must be wrapped in myths and softened by bedtime stories. You've been taught to believe that power smiles, that it rewards virtue, that it is built on justice and fairness. But that's a tale for the weak, for those who need sleep more than they need awakening. The truth is feral, unwashed and sharp-toothed. Power is not granted to the kind nor to the patient. It is seized by those who abandon illusions, those who understand that innocence is a liability, not a virtue. Every empire is built with a hidden blade. Every speech about justice is a curtain drawn to hide the machinery of domination. You are not meant to know this. Society is constructed to lull you, to keep you docile with morality, with dreams of equality, with promises of fairness. But look closely. Who holds the wealth? Who commands the armies? Who survives every collapse while the rest drown in chaos? The ones who smiled while sharpening the knife, the ones who cried for peace while financing war. Power does not belong to the righteous. It belongs to the ruthless, those who understand that appearances are not merely important, they are everything. And if you've stayed, if your heart has not fled this unveiling, then you are ready, not to be safe, no, but to see, to know, and perhaps to wield. Most people are not built to face reality. They need their world to wear a mask, a kind one, preferably. That's why they believe in heroes, in honest leaders, in systems that work for the people. It's easier to believe that success comes from hard work and clean hands than to accept that the game was rigged from the beginning. Power, real power, is indifferent to morality. It does not care if you are good. It rewards clarity, cunning, and the courage to do what others won't. The strong don't win because they are right. They win because they are willing to bend the rules, to make them, to break them. And while the world debates ethics, they move silently in the background, reshaping destiny. If this makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the death of your illusions. And from that death, something sharper can rise: vision. The world does not change through virtue. It changes through force, through strategy, through the cold decision to act when others hesitate. Ask yourself, are you watching from the sidelines, or are you learning the moves? Are you waiting for justice, or are you preparing for war? Let me know what side you're really on in the comments, and if this truth slices through the lies you were raised on, hit that like button and subscribe. This is only the beginning. Every throne is a monument to someone else's silence. Behind every smiling leader is a graveyard of forgotten names, buried scandals, and carefully erased betrayals. And yet, we applaud, we salute, we vote, not because we are free, but because we are conditioned. The illusion of choice is the most effective cage. You are told you live in a world of law and order, but who writes the laws? Who decides what is just? The foxes in charge of the henhouse. The powerful don't fear breaking the rules because the rules were never meant for them. They were written to contain you, your outrage, your hope, your rebellion. But rebellion has a cost, and most are unwilling to pay it. That's why so many prefer the fantasy. They want to believe that corruption is rare, that injustice is an error. They want to think the system is broken because the alternative is too horrifying, that it's working exactly as intended. And those who try to expose it, they are ridiculed, silenced, erased. Truth is not rewarded, it is punished. The world only pretends to value honesty. In practice, it punishes transparency and rewards manipulation. If you speak softly and lie beautifully, you will go far. But if you scream the truth, you'll be cast out. The greatest lie ever sold is that goodness is power. That if you stay honest, loyal, and kind, you will rise. That meritocracy is real, and the best naturally triumph. But if that were true, wouldn't saints be kings? Wouldn't poets rule parliaments and philosophers command armies? Look around you. Who wears the crown? The charming liar, the strategic betrayer, the polished predator. Power does not gravitate toward the pure. It clings to those who can wear purity like a costume and discard it without flinching when the scene demands blood. Every hero in history was shaped by propaganda, their sins buried, their victories renamed. Machiavelli understood what most fear to admit. It is better to appear good than to be good. Appearances can be controlled, but goodness is unpredictable, inconvenient. A ruler who clings to virtue will be destroyed by one who clings to results. You must learn to smile while sharpening your blade, to bless with one hand while the other prepares to strike. This is not cynicism, it is clarity. And clarity is rare, so rare it terrifies those who have lived too long in delusion. They will hate you for seeing clearly. They will call you dangerous, heartless, even evil. Let them. The lion does not answer the sheep. You were taught to see the world through the eyes of a child, to believe in fairness, to cheer for heroes, to trust the rules. But that lens was never meant to show you the truth. It was designed to keep you compliant, docile, predictable. Power thrives in predictability. If you always act according to principle, you are easy to corner, easy to read, easy to destroy. The truly powerful are unreadable. They move in shadows, not because they fear exposure, but because light exposes intent, and intent, when pure, is weak. Power is not about having answers. It's about mastering ambiguity. The ability to say nothing, promise everything, and deliver only what benefits your throne. Every gesture calculated, every silence a weapon. Do you really think billionaires sleep like you? That presidents worry like you? That generals cry like you? No, they have learned the ancient art of separation. They have split themselves in two, the public face and the private executor. The world sees the smile, hears the speech, reads the statement. But beneath the surface, another being operates, colder, sharper, untethered by morality. That duality is not hypocrisy, it is survival. Only amateurs show their full hand. Only fools bleed openly. The wise understand that vulnerability is only noble to the powerless. For those who seek the crown, vulnerability is death. If you haven't realized this yet, you are still prey in a world ruled by hunters. The machinery of control is not forged in fire, it is woven in narrative. History is not the story of truth, it is the story told by survivors. The ruler who crushes dissent today will be called a tyrant. But if he holds power long enough, tomorrow he will be praised as a stabilizer, a visionary, a necessary evil. Time does not purify actions, it buries opposition. Once the dust settles, people don't remember how power was taken. They only remember who holds it. And then, slowly, a new myth is written. The bloodstains fade, the betrayals are redacted. What was once criminal becomes inevitable. The people crave a story that makes sense, not one that is true. This is the secret every empire keeps close to its chest. You don't need to control the people, you only need to control the past. When you write the history books, you write the moral code. When you shape the origin myths, you define what is sacred and what is profane. The people will repeat what they were taught, defend what they inherited, and protect the very lies that enslave them. And those who question it, they are called traitors, heretics, conspiracy theorists. They are not refuted, they are erased. So ask yourself, what stories do you believe? Who taught them to you? And who profits from your belief? Information is the currency of the powerful, and like all currencies, its value lies in scarcity. The masses are flooded with data, headlines, noise. But the truth is rationed, carefully filtered, selectively released. A leader who knows everything and reveals nothing has already won the war before the first shot is fired. In ancient times, rulers used spies, secret letters, and coded messages to maintain control. Today, they use algorithms, surveillance networks, and public relations firms. The technology has changed. The principle has not. Transparency is a slogan, not a practice. The real decisions, the real games happen behind curtains, in closed rooms, in quiet meetings where cameras do not reach. And while you're busy scrolling, liking, reacting, they are watching. Not to entertain, but to measure. Every click, every search, every pause is a confession. You are not the observer. You are the product. And the powerful know more about you than you know about yourself. They don't need to lie. They simply shape what you see, limit what you question, and distract you from what matters. The illusion of freedom is the most effective leash. They don't need chains when you beg for convenience. They don't need force when you surrender through comfort. This is why power hides, not because it fears exposure, but because it thrives in shadows. And silence is stronger than deception. The idea that power corrupts is a child's fairy tale, a bedtime excuse for the naive. Power does not corrupt. It reveals. It lifts the veil from those who wore masks for survival and now no longer need them. The generous man becomes calculating. The loyal man becomes strategic. The humble man becomes a king with a clenched fist. Why? Because when you rise, you no longer fear judgment, you fear loss. Power shows who is willing to stain their hands to hold the crown and who is still clinging to innocence like a child clings to a toy. The throne is not built on love. It is built on choices made in the dark, the ones no one wants to admit, but everyone who rules has faced. And this is why so many fail when they taste power for the first time. They think they can remain unchanged, untouched, untainted. They believe they can rise without compromise. But every step toward the summit demands sacrifice, a dream, a value, a friend. There is no ascent without loss. The question is not if you will break your own code. It is when, and more importantly, what for? The amateurs hesitate. The players adapt. Which are you? If you're still clutching to the idea that clean hands can build empires, then step aside. This path is not for the pure. It's for those willing to bleed for what they claim to want. The world worships the image of virtue, not virtue itself. We do not follow those who are good, we follow those who appear good. A smile buys more loyalty than a record of justice. A carefully timed gesture of charity blinds more eyes than 1,000 confessions of sin. The powerful have always known this. That's why they invest not in character, but in performance. Behind every saint-like leader, there's a stage, a script, and a dozen handlers crafting the illusion. You were not taught to recognize authenticity. You were trained to react to symbols, a flag, a slogan, a tear at the right moment. These things do not prove truth. They manufacture belief. And in the theater of power, truth is irrelevant. What matters is perception. If people believe you are merciful, then you are. If they believe you are strong, then you are. Reality bends under the weight of repetition. Lies repeated often enough become legacy. This is not deception, it is architecture, the architecture of consent, of obedience, of myth. And the builders of this architecture are not punished, they are rewarded. They sit in boardrooms, in cabinet meetings, on magazine covers. Meanwhile, the honest man is crushed beneath the weight of his own transparency. He bleeds in public, hoping that truth will save him. It never does, not in this world. You've been told that corruption is an exception, a crack in an otherwise sound structure. But that's the ultimate deception. Corruption is not the disease, it is the design. The system was never built to serve the many. It was crafted, brick by brick, to protect the few who hold the pen, the vault, and the sword. Laws are not sacred, they are tools. And like all tools, they serve the hand that wields them. The same act that would ruin a poor man's life becomes strategic genius when done by a billionaire. The same betrayal that would end a career in obscurity becomes political maneuvering when performed under the glow of cameras. Legality, like morality, is a costume, worn or discarded as needed. And what of those who refuse to play? What of the idealist who steps into the arena with clean hands and noble intentions? They are devoured, not by accident, but by design, because purity is a provocation. It reminds the system of what it pretends to be, and so it must be erased. The naive believe the law is a shield. The wise know it's a cage. You are not free because the law protects you. You are free only when no one can weaponize the law against you. The truly powerful do not obey rules. They own them. They modify them when convenient, ignore them when necessary, and enforce them when useful. Justice, in their world, is not blind. It is obedient. The deeper you go into the labyrinth of power, the more you see its true shape. Not a straight line of progress, but a cycle of ascent and decay. Every institution, no matter how noble its origins, eventually begins to rot from within. Not because the people inside are evil, but because power rewards protection, not transformation. A leader who changes nothing is stable. A leader who challenges the order is dangerous. And so gradually the structure hardens. It stops evolving. It starts defending itself. Loyalty is rewarded over merit. Silence is promoted over courage. The machine no longer serves the people, it consumes them. What was once a beacon becomes a prison, and the guards are those who once called themselves reformers. But here lies the cruel irony. Even this decay is managed. The architects of control know how to let the structure fall just enough to inspire hope. A new leader, a new party, a new slogan. They change the paint while keeping the foundation, and the masses, desperate for change, celebrate the illusion. Revolutions become rituals, reforms become theater. The faces change, the game stays the same. This is not conspiracy, it is choreography. And unless you understand the rhythm, you will dance forever in someone else's script. So ask yourself, are you part of the audience, clapping on cue, or are you ready to step behind the curtain and see who's pulling the strings? Chaos. The word terrifies the comfortable and electrifies the ambitious. To the masses, it is disaster. Broken systems, falling. Markets, shattered norms. But to those who understand power, chaos is not the enemy, it is the ladder. In chaos, the rules are suspended. The guardians of order are too distracted to defend the gates. Fear spreads, confusion reigns, and amid the smoke, new players rise. Men and women who were invisible during peace suddenly become indispensable. They speak with urgency. They act decisively. And because no one else dares move, the world begins to orbit them. Chaos reveals who is willing to seize. When others hesitate, who is willing to burn what no longer serves them. Stability, for all its promises of peace, is a fortress built to exclude. It preserves what is, not what could be. It suffocates the visionary and shields the incompetent. But when that fortress cracks, through war, collapse, scandal, or plague, the future is up for grabs. In those moments, destiny is not inherited. It is taken. That's why the truly ambitious wait for chaos like wolves wait for winter. They don't pray for peace. They pray for opportunity. And when the old world begins to shake, they do not run. They climb, they strike, they ascend. Are you ready for that kind of moment? Or will you freeze with the rest, begging for the return of a world that never cared for you? History remembers revolutions not for their ideals, but for their victors. The slogans, the manifestos, the cries for justice, they are dust if the revolution fails. But if it wins, even bloodshed is rewritten as sacrifice. Even betrayal becomes necessary strategy. That is the brutal arithmetic of upheaval. Results justify everything. This is why the truly Machiavellian players never gamble for purity. They gamble for dominance. They understand that history does not record motives, it records outcomes. The world does not mourn those who hesitated with clean hands. It builds monuments to those who acted with ruthless clarity and emerged holding the crown. The myth of the noble rebel, the selfless idealist who overthrows tyranny and builds a better world, is seductive. But in truth, rebellion only becomes noble in hindsight. In real time, it is violent, dirty, desperate. It is full of compromise, of secret alliances, of strategic cruelty. The successful rebel is not the one who keeps his soul spotless. It is the one who adapts, who knows when to speak of justice and when to deal in shadows. The revolution may wear a white mask, but its hands are soaked in grey. If you want to lead such a moment, prepare to sacrifice more than comfort. Prepare to sacrifice your own myths about yourself. People believe information is freedom. That truth, once revealed, will set the world ablaze with change. But this is another comforting illusion. Truth alone has never been enough. The powerful have always controlled not just what is known, but how it is known, when it is revealed, and to whom. Information is a tool, and like any tool, it serves the hand that wields it. A damning truth can be buried beneath 1,000 distractions. A dangerous fact can be diluted with noise until no one hears it clearly. The world is not divided between those who know the truth and those who don't. It is divided between those who use it and those who are used by it. This is why the most dangerous weapon in any empire is not the army. It is the archive, the leak, the whisper, the silence. The ruler who controls information controls perception, and perception is reality. Entire nations have gone to war not because of facts, but because of versions of facts. Entire populations have surrendered freedoms not because they were forced, but because they were informed, misled by polished press conferences, curated headlines, carefully selected footage, and the few who scream that the emperor wears no clothes. They are dismissed not because they are wrong, but because they are inconvenient. Truth without control is noise. Truth with control is power. To rule is not to convince, it is to compel. And the most effective, a form of compulsion is not the sword, but security. Offer people safety, and they will hand you their freedom wrapped in gratitude. This is the paradox of human nature that Machiavelli understood with surgical precision. Liberty is adored in theory, but feared in practice, because liberty means risk, responsibility, uncertainty. Most men do not want to decide, they want to be told. Most societies do not collapse under tyranny, they march into it, chanting for order. When the world feels dangerous, the call for strong rulers is not a betrayal of democracy. It is its most predictable outcome. And those rulers, if they are clever, don't impose their will by force. They wait, they listen, they let fear ferment, and then they offer the solution. Surveillance for safety, censorship for stability, curfews for peace. Every chain is disguised as a comfort. Every cell is padded with promises. And the people, convinced they are being protected, applaud their own imprisonment. The cage becomes home. The leash becomes a symbol of virtue. This is the genius of soft tyranny. It asks for nothing. It lets the people offer everything. Not because they are weak, but because they are afraid. And fear will always win over freedom unless you choose otherwise. The myth of loyalty is one of the most dangerous lies ever sold. You are told that if you treat people well, if you lead with compassion and fairness, they will remain by your side. But loyalty, in the realm of power, is not built on kindness. It is built on consequence. A friend may stand with you when the sun shines, but when storms come, they calculate. They measure risk, they weigh options, they listen for footsteps in the dark. Love may win hearts, but fear governs behavior. A ruler who is feared never has to wonder where people stand. He does not beg for support. He demands obedience, and it comes not from admiration, but from necessity. This is not a call to cruelty, it is a warning against illusion. Machiavelli never glorified terror. He warned of the fragility of affection. The ruler who rules by charm must constantly maintain it. One scandal, one defeat, one crack in the facade, and the love evaporates. But fear, when applied with precision, remains. It echoes, it lingers. One ruthless act made visible can echo louder than 100 speeches. The court whispers, "Remember what happened to the last one who crossed him." That is how thrones are defended, not by applause, but by memory. And memory is shaped not by sentiment, but by pain. Every man in power fears one thing more than rebellion, more than rivals, more than death itself: erasure. To lose is not just to fall, it is to vanish. To have your victories rewritten as atrocities, your name recast as a curse, your legacy reduced to a cautionary tale. History is not a ledger of facts, it is a battleground of memory, and the victors are its authors. Caesar was called a savior, not because he spared the Republic, but because he crushed it successfully. Napoleon was praised as a genius, not because he preserved peace, but because he redrew the map of Europe. Had they failed, they would be forgotten, or worse, remembered only as villains. But they won, and in winning, they rewrote the definitions of right and wrong. Power doesn't just dominate the present, it climbs into the past and rearranges it. Statues are not built for the righteous, they are built for the victorious. Museums don't house the truth, they house the narrative that survived. And schools don't teach facts, they transmit the chosen mythos of a nation. The moment you fall from power, your enemies dig up everything they once applauded, every compromise they once made with you, and throw it back as evidence of your unworthiness. This is why the powerful fight so hard, not just to win, but to remain. Because once you're gone, your truth dies with you, and theirs becomes the only story told. To rule is to sculpt the memory of mankind. To lose is to be sculpted by others in the shape of a monster. Even now, in the age of cameras, of endless archives, of digital permanence, the story is still controlled by those in power. The illusion of transparency blinds the masses. They think that because they can see something, they can see everything. But what you see has been curated. What you know has been selected. Every press conference, every released document, every public inquiry is a performance. The real deals are made off stage. The true decisions are hidden beneath layers of protocol, buried under bureaucracy, sealed by national security, or dismissed as conspiracy. The public thinks it's informed. In truth, it's managed. And those who manage best win not just control, but consent. This is the final trick of the modern ruler, to make you believe you are free while ensuring you are never truly dangerous. They do not fear your anger. They fear your clarity. They fear the moment you begin to question the script, the symbols, the saints. So they flood your senses with distractions, outrage, entertainment, scandal, controversy, always enough to keep you reactive, never enough to make you reflective. And the greatest minds of the age, the ones who could challenge the system, are kept busy chasing wealth, prestige, or applause, because a thinker with a platform is a threat, but a thinker seduced by vanity, he is harmless. The powerful don't need to silence you. They just need to keep you chasing shadows. So what? Then is the path forward. To play the game of power is not to become a monster, it is to become awake. To stop wishing the world was different and start mastering it as it is. You do not need to love deception to wield it. You do not need to embrace cruelty to understand its utility. But if you refuse to learn the rules, if you cling to innocence like armor, you will be crushed by those who do not. The world rewards those who act, not those who hope. And the greatest act of all is to shed the comforting lies and stare into the abyss of how power truly works, not with fear, but with strategy. Because once you know the game, you cannot be played. Once you see the strings, you stop dancing. This knowledge is not poison. It is freedom, the kind that doesn't ask permission, doesn't wait for applause. It sharpens you, it hardens you, it liberates you from the myth that goodness alone will carry you. The powerful already know these truths. They build their empires on them. The only question left is, will you pretend not to see, or will you become something they can no longer manipulate, no longer predict, no longer control? Power, in the end, is not about domination. It's about narrative. Control the story, and you control the mind. Shape the meaning of events, and you shape reality itself. Those who understand this don't just build armies, they build myths. They don't just pass laws, they carve belief. And belief, once internalized, becomes a prison with no visible walls. That is the ultimate victory. When people police themselves, speak their master's language, defend the very chains that bind them. If you want to rise, you must decide. Will you live as a character in someone else's script, or will you become the one who writes it? If this truth struck you like lightning, don't walk away silently. Speak, act, share this message. Leave a comment, because silence is complicity. Like this video, because that click tells the algorithm you're awake. Subscribe, not out of habit, but out of rebellion. A rebellion against ignorance, against manipulation, against the machinery that feeds on your passivity. You've seen the mask pulled off. Now it's your move. In the game of power, knowledge is the first weapon. Use it, sharpen it, and never stop watching.